Hey everybody, it's Daniel here from InfoVest. Hope you're all doing well. So, pretty interesting start to 2025. We've been seeing the equity markets sell off. Actually, not only since 2025, but start of mid-December, where we saw a peak in the S&P 500. Same thing with NASDAQ. We see the S&P 500 from the peak in December down 6%. NASDAQ down about 7.8%. We see the same also in the Russell, the small cap stocks down about 13% there. And also the Dow Jones, if we measure from the peak to the bottom of yesterday, about 8% there. Right, so we're seeing all the equity markets basically sell off here ahead of Trump coming in, right? Ahead of all the geopolitical tensions and the worries. I mentioned before in my previous video where I talked about the many potential risks that we could see in 2025, right? We've got bond yields, for example. We've got rate cuts, right, that are now being priced in instead of 3-4 this year. It's now being priced in only one rate cut, right? Stronger data. Another situation there. We've been seeing with non-farm payrolls and the jobs numbers, especially last week, coming stronger than expected, causing the bond yields on the long end to move up higher, causing those bond yields on the 30-year to approach the 5% level, sitting right now around 4.972, right? And just hovering close to that level, creating fears and anxiety in the markets. We've got more risk about tariffs, right, from Trump coming out, potentially coming harder than expected, right, and creating volatility for the markets there. So a lot to digest and a lot to take in here, which is why we're seeing that the sell-off in the equity markets since December and even this month as well. Now, it's going to be interesting to see when Trump does come in and what he does and what his plans are. There was a Bloomberg article that came out talking about that there would be slow and gradual increase of the tariffs, but these are just plans. Nothing solidified there, nothing concrete yet. And we've heard also previous articles come out talk about how that Trump would be soft on tariffs, and then Trump coming out right away basically denying those, denying the news articles that were mentioning this. So the fact that Bloomberg reporting that Trump's going to slowly increase the tariffs starting January, then February, and do it gradually. We have yet to hear if that's true or not, and we have yet to hear what the actual plan is, and if Trump's going to basically maybe deny that article as well. So a lot of fears, a lot of volatility, huge expectations that we could see maybe more selling to come, especially if you get geopolitical risks increasing again, tariffs, fears, and so forth. But most importantly, what I want to focus on, especially for today's video, is tomorrow's CPI report, tomorrow's inflation report. That's going to be key. Now, we got the PPI numbers that came out weaker today, caused the equity markets to move up when the numbers came out. Right? So the inflation report for the producer side of things coming in weaker may hint towards that CPI tomorrow might be weak as well. Now, what was interesting is we saw a spike up in the equity markets, but then later, right after it got sold off, we went into negative territory, and it was completely choppy today. And then we went back up to the same level, price level 1, and then later around 2 o'clock in the end of the day, we sold off, and then we now picked up at the end of the close. So very super choppy action in the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. We also saw Nvidia sell off aggressively, a lot to do with the chip restrictions and again tensions between China and US, and things could escalate. However, Dow Jones ended higher for the day, and Russell 2000 ended higher for the day as well, especially with all the choppiness. So that's pretty interesting because tomorrow, when we get CPI, if the number comes in weak, could we see the same selling pressure that we saw in PPI today? Right? Could we see the equity markets completely shrug it off? So that's going to be interesting, and that's what you want to watch out, because if weaker inflation data is not going to be considered good for the equity markets, then what is, right? If you got strong employment numbers being bad for the equity markets, and then you sell off on weak inflation data, it should in theory be good for the equity markets. But it's interesting to see how the markets reacted today on a lower PPI number. Now, I don't think it should be negative, but hey, the markets can do anything, whatever it desires to do. Now, the downside is if CPI ends up being hotter than expected. We saw previous inflation numbers, especially in the prices component for ISM last week, come in really, really hot, hinting towards higher prices, higher inflation, causing the stock market to sell off and those bond yields to move up close to that 5%. That would be really bad if we get that same scenario tomorrow, where inflation data comes in hotter than expected. The bond market basically sells off, pushing those yields higher above 5%, creating tightening conditions, causing not only yields to move up, but also the stock market to sell off, right? And if basically inflation's hot, data's hot, the chances of that rate cut this year could even go to zero. And that could spark, again, a tantrum in the equity markets tomorrow. You'll see all the equity indices sell off, tech especially, Nvidia, Apple, you name it, especially with all the other risks that we have right now. So tomorrow is going to be very key. It's going to be really, really key. Just watch out for that CPI number, what comes out. It'll be interesting to see what comes out from there. And also, most importantly, the reaction from the markets, the reaction from the bond market, those 5% yields, all basically a dark cloud hovering over the equity markets. So let's see what happens tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. Hope you guys have great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, the like button as well, and the bell icon to be notified in the next video, and I'll see you guys around. Cheers and bye.